Welcome. Welcome to the Scary Show. To the Scary Show. To the Scary Show.
Welcome to the Scary Show. We lost Jerry today. I'd have to say, he was one of the most interesting people. No, he was the most interesting that we've ever had come through our care home. At least, ever since I've been a resident. I can remember the day he arrived. His family just couldn't take care of him anymore. He was too distracting, they said. His daughter claimed that he'd always been a quiet sort of guy. Until a day not long after he'd suffered a minor stroke. It was at that time that he developed a rather odd behavior, which he continued to demonstrate at the home. See, Jerry had a habit of peering out the window and shouting at the passers-by, "Pale horse! Pale horse!" It was quite unsettling, to say the least. I soon saw why his exhausted daughter just couldn't take it anymore, why his neighbors were happy to be rid of him. Now, I know what you might be thinking. He was just having a laugh at the expense of the local ladies. Well, this wasn't the case. He'd shout at ladies and lads alike. Old, young, he didn't seem to have a preference. He'd just go off with his pale horse, until the staff were able to get a hold of him and take him back to his room. He didn't do this sort of thing all the time, though, so it wasn't until something really bad happened that they took his window privileges away for good. It was a cold, rainy afternoon, as I recollect. I remember there being a lot of close calls with the local traffic passing by. Lots of squealing of brakes and such. All of a sudden, Jerry smashed against a window and starts up with his business, fist pounding, going about like a madman. His eyes are white with passion, spit flying from his lips as he shouted himself nearly hoarse. Right as the staff was struggling to haul the frail 85-year-old man away, that's when we heard the crash. It was like a bomb had gone off, it seemed. 16 dead. School children. It was then that the wheels in my head started turning. Now that I thought of it, after every one of Jerry's incidents, there had been an ambulance which passed by shortly after. An elderly woman down the road had passed one time. A middle-aged man expired from a heart attack, we later heard. Then, there was the poor mother and children who were killed by their own husband and father. Soon, I knew what he was on about. That's why when I saw him sitting in his chair in the corner of his room where I'd taken up visiting him upon an evening, weakly whispering over and over to himself, "Pale horse, pale horse." I asked him direct, You've been seeing death riding about on his pale horse, haven't you, Jerry? He just looked at me, smiled, closed his eyes, and passed me into an eternal slumber. Tonight's scary was called Jerry, written by Bruggalug. If you enjoy the stories you find here, click the like button. Think of it as applause at the end of a performance. If you haven't already, subscribe and click the bell for all notifications. It's the top icon. Share this story with everyone you can so that others may discover the scary show. Questions, comments, suggestions? Leave them down below. The Scary Show always answers the fans. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week with a brand new episode of The Scary Show.